Hello and good morning. It is Friday, the 25th of February, 2022. My name is Steve Pugh. If we don't know each other, basically every Friday morning I do a bit of a live stream here on LinkedIn, but it also goes out on Twitch, Facebook, lots of other platforms, YouTube, that kind of thing. And basically I have a business course called the Roadmap MBA, which looks a little bit something like this. Basically, we are now in 28 different countries. As of today, I'll be sending a pack to Poland for the first time, which is quite cool. And basically, our mission is to make business education accessible. And what that means is not just making it free. It's not just kind of, making sure that we talk about it on live streams and stuff, but really to take really kind of complicated business concepts that normally you would have to read, a 400-page book on strategy to get one concept. But actually, the truth is for your career, you kind of need to know about 20 of those, and then actually some stuff about marketing and sales and strategy and personal branding and goals and ambitions and that kind of thing. And basically, it's my belief that to really kind of help accelerate and grow your business or career, the more broad-rounded your skills are, and this goes over and above your kind of technical skill set. So I'm a chartered mechanical engineer by trade. For the past kind of 10-15 years, I've been tasked to help grow and turn around companies. That's kind of what I do as a management consultant. But if you are a solicitor, an artist, whatever your technical background is, you could be a coder. Often people have the technical skill and expertise to be brilliant at what they do. But if they ever want to start their own business, to basically make it profitable, how do you do that? How do you kind of create a brand? How do you position it in the marketplace? And then actually, how do you go out and sell it? And whilst, traditional business education and universities are absolutely superb and fantastic, often they tackle, for one, they're often aimed at bigger companies, as in large multinationals, not small SMEs, freelancers, whatever. But again, often they're built on kind of academic theory, which is about how you do things perfectly long term. And actually, they often don't cover how to make money in the next 2 months before you can't pay your rent, that kind of thing. So one of the things we cover is the very kind of practical real world skills to really help you grow a business quickly. And this is also true for if you work in your career. So you could work in a company of any size. And the truth is, as you progress, the more more rounded your skill set is in things like management or marketing, the more you'll understand actually that even if you work in a law firm, understanding competitor positioning and actually more about your customer and how it works and how you kind of do various different things, it will actually genuinely make a massive difference to kind of what you do. So with the roadmap, what we do is that we have a 252-page kind of textbook which goes into all the detail that, being honest, most people just like to keep it on their shelf and kind of reference it and work through it in their time. But actually, if you have a startup and you're planning a business from scratch, or if you're an entrepreneur and actually you have a team and you're looking to upskill them and basically get them better so your company makes more money, a lot of the options out there are more limited. So if you normally do in-person kind of training or even a lot of courses on things like Udemy, they're often aimed at one particular niche. So it might be a sales course, but even then it's probably just going to be one little bit of sales. And what we try and do is bring the whole thing together so that you don't just train up your team in one area, you actually get to upskill in lots of different stuff. Anyway, and something I've mentioned previously on the stream is part of my mission, because I know this, I understand this, I've been on both sides of the coin when I really wanted to access kind of high-level MBA grade strategy information, and I couldn't afford it. But then likewise, the more I kind of work with different people, and I look at the market and I look at what people do, it's too complicated and actually excludes a huge proportion of the population. So the truth is that if you have the academic background, finances and ability to do a proper MBA or proper university business school, do it. It's superb. You'll have a fantastic time and I could 100% kind of recommend it. But the truth is, if you can't, if finances, you're worried about interest rates and debt and borrowing, and you've probably got enough student debt as it is, or you've got kids, you work in a full-time job, traditional business education, or even the hard way to kind of go and read hundreds of books to kind of upskill yourself that way, a lot of people are very time poor nowadays. So actually what we try to do with the roadmap is condense that down, make it simple, and actually communicate the concepts both in terms of written word, but likewise in podcasts and live streams and Zoom calls and lots of kind of different stuff as well. And then something I've mentioned in the past as well. So this year I have a new website launching, which I'm quite excited about, but also an app hopefully for iOS and Android. And what we're essentially looking to do, so our mission is making business education accessible. But one of the things that's always kind of stuck with me is that when I send these packs to all around the world, to Ghana, it's in 27 different countries, soon to be 28. It cost me a fortune. You can get a copy completely for free. That's kind of what I want to do, but it takes a long time as well. So what we're looking to do with the app is really digitize it all so that actually we can do that super, super quick. But then the other kind of pivot is we're going to try and make business education free. And what we're going to do is have a freemium model where basically you will be able to access all of the pre-recorded stuff completely free. And actually, trust me, it's going to be, I believe, better than anything else that's out there from anyone at any price point. But then the premium model, where it's still going to pay for it, will be some of the interactive stuff to do Zoom classroom sessions and the one-to-ones and stuff with me, that actually that's how we're looking to do it. But in terms of the kind of pure business model, the fact that 83% of the world's population have a smartphone now, it's kind of something that I'm passionate about, that likewise you could be from a poorer background, you could be from a richer background, you could be whatever. But the point is, if you don't feel that the traditional mechanisms kind of work for you, there are options out there. I do live streams, I do podcasts, I do lots of kind of different stuff. The book, if you're interested, send me a message. I'll happily kind of send you a free copy. And yeah, so this is something I launched last year. And it's about trying to get the word out, trying to help people, and it is that kind of community element of why I'm kind of doing this. It's not so much about making money. But as I've just seen the first one come up, Simon, good news or bad news? I'd love to know. Just thumbs up, thumbs down. I won't say what it is. But yes, just like Simon, if you comment, and this is, please, it should pop up on the screen. Has it? Yes, it has. So I'd love to know where in the world you're kind of watching from. In the past, we've had people join from India, the US, Dubai, kind of all over the world. And one of the big things that we like to do is that often when you're looking to create something special in your business or career, or even if it was a fitness kind of goal, you never get to the goal in one go. It's often lots of small things that add up together that cumulatively kind of help you build your business or career. So one of the things we like to do is celebrate the smaller wins. So if you've got any wins that you kind of want to celebrate this week, stuff that you're super proud of, comment in the chat. I'd love to know. And genuinely, that's the kind of what we call them lead actions. They're all of the small things which help build towards the bigger goal. We cover it in the course, and I'm always quite honest about some of the stuff that I do. And yeah, so this is me, and likewise, I'm based in the northeast of England. So if anyone ever wonders how and where I'm based and that kind of thing, please kind of get in touch. But it is also flattering to kind of have users around the world. Good morning. Oh, Berkshire, nice. Hello. One of the things I don't want to not address it, but it's something that's come up this week. So as of yesterday, obviously there was some news in Ukraine and Russia to do with. It's a really difficult one to talk about because I don't want to not talk about it, but likewise I also don't want to get my facts wrong because I'm not an expert. But we do have 4 users in Ukraine and the roadmap. Obviously, it's a very difficult, stressful time and stuff there at the moment. Stay safe. Fingers crossed it all kind of gets resolved peacefully and that kind of thing as well. I didn't want to not mention it, but as a kind of global course of where we're kind of starting to get to, which is the beauty of live streaming, it's something that, I think the world is in for a challenging time, both in terms of that and politics and that kind of thing. But likewise, I always track the news, and it's something I spoke about last week to do with interest rates and that kind of thing as well. That post-pandemic, sadly, I think it's going to get tougher for a lot of startup founders, freelancers, people generally, as cost of living kind of goes up. That again, I don't want business education or the ability to upskill and stuff yourself to be like a barrier. And that's why anyone that kind of watches the streams, at least in the first kind of year or 2 years, you can reach out to me, drop me a private message. I will happily send you a free roadmap course just so you can kind of check it out. Because the big thing for me is proof of concept. It's getting feedback so that in 5-10 years time, yes, I'll run it as like a proper business, but the Trustpilot reviews and that kind of thing is super important to me. That likewise, I'd never want it to be a barrier, and I'm super proud of it. So if you ever kind of want to check this out, please drop me a message. I'll happily send you kind of a free course. Okay, so normally on the stream, I cover a few different topics just that I think could be kind of interesting. And then what I also do is that, so this is live, so it's currently 9 AM here in the UK. But actually I clip all of these up and they go onto YouTube as well. So one of the things I recommend whenever anyone does their own kind of content creation and stuff, if you can ever repurpose it, it's super useful. So actually the other beauty of doing stuff live is that because I can't do a second take, it's good practice to kind of present and stuff, but actually I clip all these up and they go onto YouTube as well. Just thought I'd mention it just in case anyone else ever wants to do their own kind of content creation stuff. It's always a kind of a top tip. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about So one of the things that I find quite interesting is that we've all probably been there in our business or career. This is probably mostly careers where we get a bit bored. And what's really interesting, the more I've kind of dug into this, is that often the challenges that we face are balanced with our skill set. Some of us at school kind of found it quite easy, so therefore got disruptive and got bored because actually it wasn't that difficult. And actually when you don't feel that you have a challenge which is big enough that you really kind of feel challenged by, that's often when people get bored, they get disillusioned, they give up, they get fed up. Likewise, if you take on a task which is so far ahead of your skill level, it might feel impossible to do. It's like if I wanted to become an Olympic athlete, technically it could be possible, but in practice it's not going to happen. It would have to be a non-athletic sport like shooting anyway. But the point is, it's really important to look at your skill set and where you match and where you're at. That likewise, it's to set appropriate goals to really help you achieve your aims. So what I'm going to do is draw a bit of a chart and just give you some examples of different things to consider. And what we're looking to do here is just plant the seed to really just make you think about the concept, because often what's really interesting to do is just have your stretch goals which are a little bit more difficult than where you're currently at, because that's where progress is kind of made. So I'm going to start with I'm going to go green. So if your skill level is really high, I'm going to skill, but actually the challenge that you're looking to set yourself isn't, you're going to get bored. It's a case of you'll find whatever it is so easy that I'm not going to say it's a waste of your time, but it's not a constructive kind of use of time. And actually this is true. A lot of people, that if you're overqualified for a job or it's just not interesting and whatever, this does happen. So actually if this ever has resonated with you, let me know. Likewise, if your skill level's there, but your challenge is just huge, to actually try and fill that gulf would be the equivalent of me trying to make the Olympic basketball team. Technically possible, but very, very unlikely. And the amount of work and stuff to go into that point, it wouldn't happen. And what's just really interesting is that as you go through your career, essentially your skill set actually grows over time, because you learn stuff, you get better, you have more reference points. Your skill level increases over time. And what's really interesting is that essentially what you want to do is set yourself goals that grow and stuff over time. So what's really interesting is that often people, when we talk about goal setting, they say, look, I want a $100 million revenue company and to make £10 million a year, or to make the Olympics or whatever. But when you set the huge goal, it's essentially this scenario where you have a good skill level, but your target is just there. That's a big jump to kind of do. So one of the things we talk about on the course is actually how can we break that down? And we do it in terms of lead actions. I've showed you in previous weeks I have a frame on my desk which actually breaks down all the little steps that we want to do. But when you then celebrate the little wins, essentially as your skill set grows over time, grow your challenge over time. The challenge that you set, you always want them to be slightly above where you're currently at, but not too far out of reach. So again, if you're just starting off, set yourself the challenge to, I don't know, for instance, say we're going to use weight loss as a good example because most people kind of understand that. So you're not quite happy with how you look and you have bigger ambitions to lose 20 kilos. But actually, if you try and go from 0 to 20, that's a really big stretch that you'll feel like you're not making any progress for a very long time. And the bigger that gap is, the more likely you are to give up. So actually your first one could just be to lose 1 kilo, and actually you do that, and actually, okay, so set the next target, could be 4. But the whole point is not to really overstretch your challenge and your goal versus where your skill set is. But then likewise, if you do have a really big audacious goal that you want to go for, if you do want to launch a $100 million company, which I'll be honest, I do, the more you can actually updo, build and grow your skill set, which does take time to learn stuff, takes time. There's a reason why university degrees are 3 or 4 years. It's because it takes time to learn stuff. So likewise, if you have really big grand ambitions to create the next Facebook, chances are it'll help to start building your skills now. And the broader your range of skills, even if you're a technical expert in kind of coding, the more you can learn about management skills, sales, marketing, whatever, I promise you it will genuinely help. But then likewise, if you're currently a little bit disillusioned, a little bit downhearted because maybe you're not making as much traction as you hoped with your business startup, whatever it could be. Maybe it could be that your goal that you're setting is maybe a bit too far away. So for instance, a lot of people want to earn £10,000 a month as a freelancer. That's like the goal that people kind of talk about. And if you're currently at 1, which is cool, as long as you're breaking even and paying your own bills, don't push yourself too much. Just then make it 2,000, 3,000 a month. Again, that's if that's your goal. But the point is, don't worry and don't care about what anyone else's goals are. Just manage your challenges and the things that you want to tackle based against your skill set. If you're bored in your current business or career, chances are the challenge is too low for where you're currently at. So find a bigger challenge. And actually, if you're quite happy in your job, you've got a good gig, it pays for everything you want. This is where people often look to find challenges outside of work. A lot of people, my kind of age, start to do things like Ironmans and triathlons and things that are really big goals that they'll have great pride to do and achieve, and then just start to work towards it. So even if you're not necessarily getting fulfillment in your work and stuff every day, other challenges outside of work could kind of be something that you look at. But it's just this concept that I wanted to talk about, that either, yes, if you're currently bored or frustrated or whatever in your job, is your challenge really big enough to kind of motivate you? And is it something that kind of gets your heart excited? Or flip it round, have you set a goal so big that actually it'll be so difficult to kind of complete, that actually celebrate the small wins, celebrate the getting your website live and actually just getting your first customer. And even with someone I was with last night, celebrate getting your first troll. So whenever you do anything on the internet, as I do or anyone kind of does, you're going to have people that don't like it. So ironically, although it's never nice to have someone slag off your product, at least celebrate the fact that someone's seen it. And it's those kind of things that over time, if you really understand the game you're in, the lead actions to do the actions which will help you get to the kind of bigger goal, I promise it kind of does work. If you catch any of this up on YouTube, please feel free to comment. I always try and respond to everyone. What are your kind of goals and challenges? Have you ever had one which was too big that you kind of got bored of? Because actually, if it takes so long to feel like you're making progress, people give up. This happens a lot with kind of weight loss stuff as well. And that's why it's really important to have small kind of manageable goals. Okay, 9:09. I always try and keep the segments quite short because people get bored on YouTube and they don't want to watch the whole thing. But thank you if you kind of tune in. And again, if you comment in the comments, they do pop up on my screen and I love to kind of interact with people as well. Okay, what time are we in? The more I do these, it's funny, I just view them as practice. If you look at anyone who's the best in their field at anything, sports, business, whatever, it's all about practice. And this in a way is public speaking practice, and I do it every week regardless, even if people don't kind of tune in live. But I appreciate it because I know where I want to get my career to in 5-10 years time, that actually if I ever get the pleasure to speak on kind of big stages on different kind of stuff, this is all practice and it all kind of helps. And actually just some of the other kind of updates and stuff that I've been doing. We had to sadly rearrange the interview with Chloe Clover from Monday to Monday. Basically we had a scheduling conflict, so hopefully you'll see that on Monday, which I'm really kind of looking forward to. And the other thing on Monday as well, which is quite cool, I won't say who it is, but there's a really prestigious architecture firm that have a very prestigious leadership and development kind of program, and basically they're using the roadmap as part of that. So I'm going in to speak to some of their learners and their future leaders on what I'm doing, my mission, my background, and that kind of thing as well. But again, that's something I want to celebrate because actually I want to do more of that. But likewise, when you have something like recognition, when people actually they like what you've done and they want to buy it and use it. And it's a nice feeling that actually you can put years and years into trying to write something like this and all of the branding and creation and production and whatever. And if nobody cares, it can be a tough kind of pill to swallow. But actually, when you start to get progress and feedback's good, that kind of thing, it is quite nice. And the point is, I like to celebrate these small wins as well, and you should as well. That even if I was doing that gig and not being paid, it's still good for where I want to get to. So that would be a lead action and something I kind of want to celebrate. Good morning, Deborah. How's your week been? How's COVID? And yeah, I'd love to I love it when people get in touch. So hello, that's cool. Okay, the next one I'm going to go on is, okay. So it's the whole essence of find something that you love to do. And relating to this, because they're very closely linked, is focus on the direction, not the goal. So I'm 38, I plan to probably work, or at least do stuff for the next 30, 40 years. And it's because I enjoy it. And what I've tried to do with the roadmap is build a business and a career around stuff that actually I love to do. I love to talk to people. I love to use my brain. I love problem solving, that kind of thing. But the point is, if I'd started a business which was to sell plastic pens, and I did it just because I thought it would make money, I guarantee you will give up as soon as it gets tough. Because when you launch a business, as Deborah has and a lot of other people kind of have, trust me, it's a really, really tough gig that you have to be able to put your heart and soul into something and really be passionate about what it is that you're doing and have a core belief that you can do it better than anyone else in the world, than actually that you're having an impact. And I think too many people, they focus on the revenue. So almost they think, oh yeah, I want the money. So people that have businesses seem to have loads of money, so I'm going to start a business. And then they just look to do anything which could make money and they don't really care what it is. And basically, just as a friend, I'm saying that that is not a good thing to do. I guarantee you that starting a business is a really, really tough gig. That for one, it has to be something that you love, and arguably something that you would probably do for free, even if nobody paid you. And basically what we're doing, and we'll talk about something called Ikigai, which as I've mentioned in the past, is that you need to basically find something, if you really want a fulfilling kind of career, that for one, people will pay you for. Because likewise, you can volunteer. If you have £10 million in the bank, you can work for free and that's cool, but most people kind of can't. So they have to be willing to pay you for. You have to be good at it. So for instance, I can't sing at all. So if I wanted to be a professional singer, it falls down by my inability to sing. It has to be something that is valued by society and people actually kind of want. And what we're trying to do there is that if you can build your business and your career around your passions, it makes a huge, huge difference to your ability kind of to do it and to go in that direction. But one of the things that I've really found interesting is that most people are here, and they have the goal. And they say, look, I'm currently, it's, what was it, 25th of February 2022. I want to be a billionaire by 10 years' time. And the issue is that when people set fixed goals, chances are, if you know what you're doing, you know how to play the game, you know the actions to kind of get you there, at some point, you will actually get there. I'm a big boxing fan, and actually there's a guy called Tyson Fury who's world heavyweight champion. He's got a fight coming up with Dillian White, but actually when he went through his career, so as a junior amateur boxer, he was here, and he always said that he wanted to be world heavyweight champion, which was there. And he spent his entire life, so realistically probably from age 10 to I think he was 28 when he kind of became world champion, and he beat Klitschko. And Klitschko was this big Ukrainian, again, champion that was undefeated for a very long time. And what happened with Tyson Fury is that he'd built up the goal and the achievement of the goal to be his absolute everything in life. But the issue is, after he'd done it, he actually then started to spiral into kind of a really bad depression, because he felt that his life had kind of lost some of its purpose and meaning, because he was aiming for this, he'd done it, he'd achieved it, and he didn't know what was next. And this is true in people's businesses and careers as well, that you might set a goal to do £1 million in revenue. Chances are, at some point, if you work hard, you know what you do, and you get the right business strategy, you get the product structure and stuff, you'll hit it. And then it's a case of, okay, well, what's next? And what's next? And the reason why I wanted to talk about this, just because it's part of my kind of life, if you can find a goal which you can never actually achieve. Simon Sinek has different concepts and stuff about this. But likewise, so for instance, I want to make business education accessible and help as many people as I can on that kind of journey, that unless literally 8 billion people have access to the roadmap, and if they want access to business education, they can. It's a problem that I can never kind of solve. And actually for me, it's more important to focus on the direction. Focus on the direction, not the goal, because actually that keeps going. So for instance, when there's no end point to actually kind of get to, in theory, you should never actually have the fall off at that point through actually fulfilling your kind of goal that actually turns out isn't what you thought it was. A lot of people, I watch the Stephen Bartlett kind of podcast. Good morning, James. Yeah, a lot of people watch the kind of Stephen Bartlett podcast, and he says that when he grew up in relative poverty in different parts of kind of Manchester, he always thought, well, actually, I want to be rich and I want a Lamborghini and I want different kind of things. And actually, what's quite funny is that when you go through your career, at a certain point, if you work hard, you can get those things, which could be the £1 million or it could be the goal. And the truth is, you realize quite quick that actually it's maybe not what you thought it was. For me, I was raised by a single parent. She raised me and my brother. And actually, I've mentioned this in the past, but for me, when I grew up, we grew up relatively poor. And there was a point where I was 33, just turned 33, and I'd always set the goal to become managing director of a company. I didn't even really know what that was at the time. I just knew it was cool, and that was a personal kind of goal I set. And the other one was to buy a brand new Porsche, and part of that was because growing up, it was so out of reach that it would seem like impossible to kind of do. And what was really interesting was that I went through that journey, achieved both within the same year. But actually at that point, after about 6 months, I realized it's kind of just a car. I felt happy that I'd achieved the goal, but the goal itself didn't make me happy. And one of the things that I've really kind of learned is it's how and where do you get your fulfillment from? What is it that actually kind of gets you excited? And the truth is now I kind of know in my heart is that if I had £30 million in the bank, I wouldn't be any happier. What makes me happy and fulfillment is people like James or Deborah or Simon who comment on the stream and get value in what we're trying to do. That's actually what makes me happy. So then when I'm trying to build the business and follow my own mission, I'm hopefully going to try and build something which gives value and actually brings me happiness, but it's chasing the direction, not the goal itself. Does that make sense? And it was the kind of thing that I just wanted to kind of talk about, because often it's a tricky subject that we've all been there. I've been there. In some ways, I still have crazy goals that I want to try and achieve, but I try not to be too hard on myself, but it is focused on the direction, not the goal. At 9:19, I think I'm going to call it quits on that one. I do love it when people kind of get in touch. If you ever catch up any of these on YouTube, my name's Steve Pugh. I do a lot of business entrepreneurship stuff. Please kind of like and subscribe. I have my interview with Chloe on Monday, which definitely kind of check out. I'm just checking my notes and then I'm going to come to Deborah. Yeah, so Deborah, that's completely true. That likewise, everyone's business, including mine, has to pivot and change. And I think that's what's quite interesting is that when, it's a Bruce Lee quote, but it's almost like be like water, but it's almost where when I launched the roadmap, the original plan was to write the book and to have a stream of online content. And that was kind of it, a bit like Netflix. And one of the things that was really interesting was actually to get user feedback. And it was the live classroom sessions, which we do 4 times a week. So 2 on Tuesdays, 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. in the UK, 7 a.m. on Thursdays, and I do on midday on Fridays as well. You're more than welcome to join. I'm in this room and we talk about stuff and talk about your business and whatever your goals and aspirations are. But the point is, it was actually from the feedback that I learned that the real USP and what people really wanted was that 2-way interaction. But then likewise, in some ways that again is the USP, because it's very difficult to do. You have to really know your your subject matter on a lot of different broad business subjects to be able to do that. But ironically, in terms of a barrier to entry for someone to come in and copy the business model, they would have to be really good at that as well as the whole thing. But taking Deborah's point, I was never too wedded with a particular goal. It was just a case of pivot and learn and change and pivot and learn. That likewise, the plan for the freemium model to really try and make business education accessible to everyone in the world is it's technically a pivot because I'm changing my kind of revenue model. But the point is, I wasn't fixed to the one particular. The goal isn't to make money, it's actually to try and have social impact, if that's kind of cool. I think I'm going to call it quits on that one. Yeah, why not? But thank you for your time, everyone, guys. I really do kind of appreciate it. If you ever need anything, please kind of feel free to reach out. If anyone kind of catches this from anywhere in the world and you're interested in checking out the roadmap, although you can buy it on the site, if you ever check out the streams and you're kind of involved with the community, just reach out. I will happily send you a free copy as well. Anywhere in the world, completely free, no issues. I pay all of the production, postage, everything. Just if you can give me a review, that'd be quite cool. Cool. Well, I'm going to call it quits on that one. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. It's always good to kind of catch up, and I will see you next week. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.